start whenever.
Yes, you may.
All right, hi guys and girls. I'm Tyler Grubbs. Thanks for showing up today. I was expecting a lot smaller amount of people. But today I want to talk about science. And morality and science, I don't know if you heard this, have been said to not overlap with each other, that they don't at all, they're not used in the same sorts of situations. And I suppose I can see where they're coming from, because we've all been in high school science. You do a lab, for example, finding out the acceleration of gravity, just so you can find out that the answer is exactly what you thought it would be because you read about it, but then you have to prove it to yourself in data, facts, cold evidence. But speaking of common knowledge such as that, did you guys know that water is made up of 2 atoms hydrogen, 1 atom oxygen? Is anyone going to dispute that? Okay, well get this. Scientists are about as sure of the theory of evolution as they are about water being H2O. But there's no reason to get emotional about that, about water. Which is why certain places in our country withhold the theory of evolution to children who don't have intellectual defenses and can't make their decision for themselves. And that's my proposition, is that maintaining scientific ethical standards for our thinking is important for all of us because it affects policy everywhere. So the first principle, 3 principles that I'm going to be talking about are not making any conclusions outside the scope of any certain data, to question our emotions and our gullibility, and lastly, to conform our beliefs and our ideas and our opinions according to reality. So first of all, let's say there's a study that says 10% of U.S. citizens from ages 18 to 25 love horror movies. They prefer it over comedy and everything else. This is fake, you know. But an example of a reasonable inference to make is probably about 1 in 10 of you love horror movies, because we're all in that age span. Now, if someone has an agenda, or is like anti-American, they could say, yeah, see, 10% of Americans are desensitized, sadistic sociopaths. That's not reasonable, and that's kind of an exaggeration, of course, but we see things like that all the time. It's the reason why, well, pardon me, I'm going to get on to the next point, which is questioning our credulity and our emotions, because especially when ideas, any topic, is a big issue in our country, it tends to incite our emotions and to trick us into believing things that we should know better not to believe in. And this brings me to homosexuality, and I know at least some people in this room are thinking, oh, geez, he's getting controversial on his first speech. That's exactly my point. This is still a controversy in spite of all of the research that's been done that, you know, debunk this claim that homosexuality is unnatural, goes against nature. No. In nature, 10%, approximately 10% of all mammals have homosexuality. Yet, we condemn them, some of us. And it's also why topics such as man-made climate change remain controversial. There's a reason to get emotional about it, despite the overwhelming evidence that support its existence. And this is the biggest reason why we need to conform our ideas and our beliefs according to the world changing around us, because it used to be just a belief that the earth was some 1,000 years old and was made in 6 days. It's not just a belief anymore, it's incorrect. It's flat out incorrect. And when we follow these things that defy reality, we have policies that are misleading and harmful even. Now, am I suggesting that it's not okay to believe in something without without evidence? Of course not. That's one of the biggest reasons why I would say this country is so exceptional. But I think it's important to keep that out of our policies. You know, personally, we can all have relationships. You know, my ex-girlfriend, I used to fight with her all the time. I'm not above this stuff. I'd always be tempted to say, oh, maybe she's right, but I don't want her to be right. Screw that, I'm gonna keep fighting. Or if we saw something in a magazine, turns out beer and french fries can be good for us, I'd think, get it, son. I'm going to Buffalo Wild Wings. Never gonna leave. So next time you're tempted to believe in one thing or another, question yourself when it's something you'd like to hear. Question your hipster friends that tell you about their opinions. And I think a widespread sort of adjustment to our thinking can make this country a better place. Thank you.
$5:59 technically. It took me a second to hit the stop.
Oh, wow, really? That's awesome.